Welcome to a brand new episode of Kapow, coming at you from Sydney Oz Comic Con. This is the first time that Sydney has hosted Oz Comic Con. It's very exciting.
It's really, really exciting. We're going to be doing our reviews as always. So we're looking at Pappy, we're going to be looking at Sanctum, and we're going to be looking at an advanced copy of the first issue of Wytches from Snyder.
Yes.
And I'm going to do another Ray's collectible run. I've found a bunch of stuff which I haven't seen before so at a con, so I'm very excited to bring those to you as well.
Awesome. Plus we're going to have a chat with some of the local creators who have come out for today. So let's get to it.
All right.
It's possible we should have made room for this review in our Crime Noir special last episode, because this is kind of a deconstructed noir story.
True, but it's also mashed together with a Christmas movie with a bit of a sprinkling of Drop Dead Fred on top.
Grant Morrison certainly likes to juggle his genres, and in his 4-part series Pappy, he takes a washed-up ex-cop turned hitman and gives him an imaginary friend, just in time for Christmas.
Nick Sachs used to have principles, back when he also had a detective's shield, but when he refused to do favours for a crime boss, his career and marriage were sabotaged. At which point, he immediately decided to become an assassin. No, I didn't really get the logic of that either, but as the reader, we're encouraged not to dwell on it too much, as the story just rockets forward.
Yeah, it does feel a little rushed. In this 4-part series, we never establish the characters or the world that they live in before Morrison then subverts it by adding in this little blue horse / unicorn / Pegasus thingy called Happy.
The concept of a twisted Christmas story with Nick playing George Bailey to Happy's Clarence hits the right tone of irreverently comic, with a drug addict in a Father Christmas costume preparing to kill a group of children in front of an internet audience.
I loved that Happy is a little girl's imaginary friend who has run away to get help. That's just such a fascinating premise to begin with, but it really does feel underused. Derek Robertson provides brilliant contrast in the artwork, and you can almost hear the cutesy nasal voice the horse would speak in.
I was thinking maybe Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, very nice, yes. And it is that contrast that is such a big selling point to this series. I mean, it's like if you dropped Genie from Aladdin into a book by Raymond Chandler.
Yeah, I have to agree though, it does feel a little bit rushed. There's no building of a buddy cop atmosphere between the killer and the cartoon, and I feel like that was something of a missed opportunity.
Yep.
In the end, Happy kind of comes across feeling like a Garth Ennis or a Mark Millar story that doesn't go quite as far on the violence.
Sure.
I'm still going to give it a borrow. I did still like it. I just felt like it could have been more.
Yeah, it's a great little premise that just needed that bit more development. There is a lot in here to love though, so I'm giving it a borrow as well. Okay guys, standing next to me here is Sean Paulette. Sean, what has brought you to Sydney Comic Con?
I'm here to promote my comic book, the Extreme Champion Tournament. So I'm from Melbourne, but headed up here to promote this as well as my Kickstarter for issue 1 that's coming out on the 11th of October.
Awesome. Now, issue 0 was also a Kickstarter, wasn't it?
Yes, yes. So I was one of the first comic book Kickstarters here in Australia.
Amazing.
So it was a little bit nerve-wracking to get it over the line, but with some help of some of the companies doing some advertising in it, I was able to hit the target and goal.
There it is. So, if for somebody who doesn't know what Extreme Champion Tournament is about, give them a little bit of a rundown. Who would like this?
Well, the artwork is heavily influenced off J. Scott Campbell and Humberto Ramos, so anyone that likes that art style will definitely like this. In regards to the storyline, people that like Thor, Hercules, and a lot of mythological comic books will definitely enjoy this.
Your lead character is Spartacus.
Yes.
It's very cool indeed. Now, if somebody's like, yes, I need to read that, where can they get their hands on it?
They can get it from King's Comics in Sydney. We've got Kaboom Comics in Queensland, All Star Comics down in Melbourne, which is where I'm from, Adelaide and Perth Comic Centre as well.
Amazing.
So,
one in every state. There is no excuse, guys. Get out there, grab yourself XCT. Thank you for having a chat with me today, Sean.
Thanks.
Some of you may remember a brief period in history, going from the late 70s into the early 80s, when movies were mostly about getting trapped underwater, often while getting picked off and slaughtered one by something prehistoric or alien.
I think most films is a bit of an overstatement there. No. But it was still very, very popular. But did you notice around 2005 it was all about being trapped in underground caves?
It was. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But this is all a roundabout way of introducing our next review, a Humanoids published title, which manages to have people trapped both underwater and in caves. Sanctum, written by Xavier Dorison, with art by Christophe Beck.
It strikes you immediately how filmic this book really is. I mean, I started casting it while I was reading it. Johnny Depp, Bruce Willis, Beau Bridges.
Exactly. It has that high-budget horror movie kind of feel with the big names and the flashy special effects.
It also has a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too much. We follow the crew of the atomic submarine USS Nebraska as they respond to a distress signal, finding a wrecked Russian sub and the entrance to an impossible underwater temple.
But as is so often the case, the discovery of the temple is followed swiftly by paranoia, madness, and ultimately death. Lots and lots of death as this unseen evil presence starts bending the crew to their control.
Yeah, and those Lovecraftian themes are used to great effect throughout. Although that feeling was harmed a tiny bit by the fact that the shadowy evil looks a bit like Tim Curry's devil from Legend.
With the bouncing horns, sure, yeah. I was in two minds about the art. Some of those grand two-page spreads were just awe-inspiring, and some looked like they were lifted straight out of Dante's Inferno. But then up close, I sometimes found the character faces to be a bit static and unevocative. And that does mirror the characters' sometimes one-note personalities.
Yeah, see, I think that's why I was dreamcasting in my head, because they don't really jump off the page at you. I mean, they all fall into their archetypes and they perform their functions really well. I mean, whether that is to decipher ancient hieroglyphics or die really painfully.
A lot of them have that function.
Yeah.
Look, I can see the flaws in this series. I absolutely can. But there's no getting away from how immersive it is. You know,
True.
the claustrophobic feeling it gives you, just a few thousand feet below sea level, slowly realizing that you're not the top of the food chain anymore. I love that stuff. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a great time reading this. And I have to give it a buy based on that alone.
Cool.
Just from that feeling that it gave me.
Yeah.
And look, I know a screenplay's been written based on this story, so hopefully we'll get to see your dream casting in the flesh.
I really hope so, because I did really enjoy reading this book. It is a slow builder, but there are some truly spine-tingling moments. It is a little wordy at times, and a lot more could have been left to our own imagination or allow the facial expressions to convey. Still, it is a creepy, smart horror story that I loved reading, so I'm giving it a buy as well.
So now we're chatting with Nick Shaw. Thanks for having a chat with us today, Nick.
Thank you.
And tell us a bit, first of all, about the book that's brought you here today to Oz Comic.
So I brought Action Johnson with me today. It was an online webcomic that I started a year ago, just to get a different feel for writing different genres and having a little bit of fun with artists, new artists, and kind of getting a challenge for myself, fitting the same sort of character, but into different settings. It's been a good time.
Because he's sort of basically a space cowboy, but you've got him in a lot of different areas, a lot of different things are going down.
Yeah, so he's your regular kind of like Malcolm Reynolds, Han Solo kind of character, but I throw him into different situations. Like I could have him fighting candy monsters, but then I can have him fighting vampires, space pirates, space Nazis,
Awesome.
that kind of stuff.
Space Nazis. You cannot beat space Nazis.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you've got so many different artists on this as well.
Yeah, so I've had 10 artists now. I just ran a Kickstarter. I met all of my stretch goals, ended up making 343% of my funding. So I was able to put on another 6 artists onto the book. I've had people from Italy, England, America. Artyom Trankiov, who's just done Image Comics Undertow, is going to be the last artist on the next book, which I'm pretty chuffed about. And I've been lucky enough to work with Ryan Cody as well, who's done Doc Unknown, which has been a very successful indie publisher through Comixology. It's been a wild ride to get all these great artists, especially so soon in my career, I guess.
Sure.
I've been very, very, very
And
lucky.
it seems like it's got a lot of distance to grow and to go onwards from here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm hoping that I can get a mini-series in there at some point, but right now I'm happy writing the short stories and getting artists to set me challenges from page count, panel count, writing Marvel method. It's it's really just trying to get myself to become a better writer and work on different dialogue patterns, things like that.
Now you mentioned characters like Malcolm Reynolds and Han Solo, so you got that obvious sci-fi influence. But what other elements influence your writing style, your story style? Do you think?
I'm big on dialogue. And as a letterer as well, it's kind of a punishment for myself. I write 8-panel pages and then I throw 16, 17, dialogue balloons in there, and it makes for a hard time. But I enjoy the dialogue because I can find I can get a lot more heart into a story through that rather than just relying on an artist's skill.
Fair enough. All right, excellent. Well, look, it's a fantastic comic. People should absolutely check it out. Where's the best place for people to get their hands on it?
You can get it at actionjohnson.com.
Yep.
Currently, the first 4 chapters are up for free. I'll have the book on sale end of month.
Fantastic. So, Action Johnson, check it out.
Recently, we were lucky enough to get our hands on an advanced copy of Wytches #1, a new horror title coming out from writer Scott Snyder and artist Jock that is bound to leave readers with a few sleepless nights.
Well, we saw with his short series Severed that Scott Snyder can be a dab hand at the old horror genre, and Wytches looks like it's going to be, if anything, creepier and bloodier than what we've seen before.
Yes, but it isn't just the gore that makes this story so compelling. I'd say that the strength of Snyder's horror work lies in his ability to slowly build tension. In this first issue, we're introduced to the Rook family, likeable and creative people who are clearly about to suffer unimaginable terror. What's strongest about this issue is that we care about these characters before the bad things even start happening.
Yeah, but don't worry, fans of graphic violence. We're shown some pretty nasty stuff as well. The sight of a girl getting dragged through a knothole in a tree by a quartet of claw-like hands, for example, is one that's likely to stay with you. Quite who or what the Wytches are has been left unexplained at this point, so we're not too sure as to why they're so hot on pulling people into trees, but given what we've seen so far, they're unlikely to be a force for sunshine, lollipops and rainbows.
Yeah, which is why you get an artist like Jock on board. I mean, we've already seen how well these two work together with their work on The Black Mirror, possibly because they both like leaving so much up to the reader's imagination. Jock's slightly impressionistic style makes indications rather than outright statements, and the tone of creeping dread swells as a result.
Some of the frames put me in mind of Jeff Lemire's work, and I've got to agree, it has this slightly off-kilter look that keeps you just a tiniest bit on edge throughout. Matt Hollingsworth is also pitch perfect on colours, providing a grim backdrop to what should be a chilling story. This isn't going to be a series that relies on cheap shocks, but rather one that builds up slowly to genuine scares that will have you just glancing suspiciously at every shadow afterwards in your quiet home by yourself. It's a buy from me. Yeah,
it definitely passes the acid test for horror comics for me. It made me afraid to turn to the next page, but also compelled to do so. And the cliffhanger on the final page will have you counting down the days for issue #2. It's definitely a buy from me as well. Guys, keep your eyes out from October 8th when this hits the shelves.
Hi guys, going to take you on another Raised collectible run. I've found a few different collectibles that I haven't seen at other conventions, so let's go check them out. As you know, I love my Transformers, and look what I've found. This is the Japanese version of Metroplex. It's the largest Transformer ever released, and it's just fantastic. I don't know how I'm going to get this thing home, but this is just one of the gems that you can find at Oz Comic Con. Let's go find some more. I'm here at Exclusive Collectibles, taking a look at something a little different. If you love your Iron Man 3, do you remember this guy, Igor? Well, this isn't a statue. This is actually a model kit that you can purchase, actually produced by Dragon. It's relatively new. What you can do is you can buy the pieces pre-painted and put it together, or you can get your own and paint your own, design your own. I think they look fantastic. I'm not a very good painter, so I'd be opting for this kind of option, but the figure looks excellent, and it's a decent scale. It's 1/9 scale, and that's just one of the other things that you can find here at Oz Comic Con. I'm here with Colin from Silver K Gallery. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Well, we are fortunate enough to be the franchise in Australia for DC Comics. Actually, it's the original artwork by guys like Alex Ross and Jim Lee. We also do this beautiful Marvel range, which of course everyone knows Marvel's Stan Lee, the famous guy who's 93, I think, these days. And we also do a lovely collection of Star Wars art. So we're really catering for those people that just love superheroes, and that's what we are. We're superheroes.
How did you get started in this business?
Well, I was actually in my father's business years ago, which was the art business, selling art materials, and I've always loved the comic world, and we are also the licensee for Disney and Warner Brothers, so the whole world of that animation in general. And I loved it myself, and I went over to America in 1987 and knocked on the door of Warner Brothers. And they said to me, "What do you mean cells? What are you talking about?" And I said, "I know you make cells for cartoons," and I said I'd like to sell them, and no one else in the world was selling them then.
Right.
And anyhow, a lovely lady called Linda Jones, who was Chuck Jones' daughter, the famous Chuck Jones, who created many of the famous Warner Brothers characters, gave me a connection, and I started selling cells way back then, and the whole thing sort of evolved from there.
What's the most popular franchise that you deal with? I mean,
Look,
they're all a hard one to say.
Yeah, it is. They're all very popular. Every person out there has their own favourite character. Star Wars is very big. DC Comics is huge. And of course, because Stan Lee's still alive, Marvel, probably my most famous piece here at the moment is the Spider-Man piece, which has just been done by Alex Ross and signed by Stan Lee. I mean, Spider-Man is the central theme of all Marvel, but they're all popular.
And how can people find out more about Silver K?
Well, that's very kind of you to give us that opportunity. It's the Silver K Gallery, and we're based in Melbourne at 1092 High Street, Armado. We've got a fabulous website, www.silverkgallery.com.au.
Excellent.
Or just phone us on 95095577 and we'll help you.
Lovely. Thanks very much for your time
today. It was
today.
lovely meeting you.
Excellent. Thank you. That's it. I'm done. I'm dusted. That's the end of a big day at Oz Comic Con. Running around everywhere, looking at all sorts of things, but I did have to show you a little sneak treat I decided to get myself. It's the Darth Vader Cloud City version by Kapow. This is the Artifacts model, so yes, that's right. It's going straight in the pool room next to all the other statues. I don't have a pool table, but that's okay. I'll just fill the floor with more statues. That's right. Thanks, guys.
Well, guys, that's it for us here at Sydney Oz Comic Con. It has been a huge day.
It has. It's been a lot of running around, a lot of looking at some awesome stuff.
Yep.
You know, first Oz Comic Con for Sydney. I think it's been a success. I like the whole vibe. It's brighter, it's breezier. There's some natural light. I think some people have been getting a bit freaked out by that, but they've been adjusting, and I think everybody's had a good time.
Compared to the Melbourne Oz Comic Con, definitely a different vibe. I think this con has a lot of potential. I'm interested to see how it develops and how it grows, as you say.
I think next year's going to be huge for Sydney Oz Comic Con. After this weekend, it has been successful. I've had a great time over the weekend. There has been some awesome cosplay as well, which is always good. Guys, if you came out and had a look around, let us know what you thought of Sydney Oz Comic Con. But until next time,